What's up, everyone? Old album review right now. Two firsts in this video. First of all, change of scenery here. First ever video live from college. Second of all, this is the first time I ever said I was going to do something on this channel, and I actually came through with it. So let's start this review. It's Fever Ray's self-titled album, Fever Ray. Karin Andersson is best known for her work with the Swedish electronic group The Knife. Fever Ray is a musical alias under which she released this debut solo project, and although she is better known for her work on The Knife as an overall project, I actually think that this album is better than anything The Knife has ever put out. And that's not a knock against The Knife, because they certainly were one of my favorite groups before their recent disbandment. However, I think that this Fever Ray album in particular is the pinnacle of electropop music, and you'd be pretty hard-pressed to make anything better than this. Generally speaking, there's two tones that the tracks off of this album tend to take. There's light, airy, and just really natural sounding, and then there's pitch black, dark, and gothic. And the opener, If I Had a Heart, is the epitome of dark and gothic. The album opens with a booming and foreboding bass line that leads into Karin's vocals. However, she doesn't open up with the sort of off-pitch, eccentric voice she's known for. Instead, she has a very altered voice on this track, and she sounds somewhat demonic. And with lyrics about heartlessness and voicelessness, Karin is just painting a very elaborate picture of someone who's losing their humanity over their greed, saying they want more, and losing their personal touch because of it. The song is such a great opener because of how entrancing the throbbing synths and the altered vocals are. This is definitely a song that is going to capture the listener's attention and try to draw them into the rest of this record. The next track, When I Grow Up, is such a contrast to If I Had a Heart. It's almost unbelievable. When I Grow Up, it's just opening with a crazy open sky, little birds fluttering about. It's so naturey. It's like an ecosystem in a song. And one of the defining factors that makes this album so great, in my opinion, is how Karin is able to take music that's purely electronical and make it sound so natural and vibrant and full of life. And I think that this little contrast is the ultimate overall singular thing to take away from this record. I think Fever Ray is making a point that materialism tends to lead to heartlessness and inhumanness, but being true to nature is where true happiness lies. This is sort of the Walden of musical works, if you will. And this is proven further with the next track, Dry and Dusty, which again Fever Ray uses the vocal enhancement, and she just sounds very exasperated and literally pretty dry. Even the production seems a little dull and stale compared to the really lush When I Grow Up. And some of the genius behind the lyrics off of this track revolve around Karin's ability to intertwine different stories and ideas to project this theme. Like, she seems to bring up a relationship in the track Dry and Dusty, and at the end she ends up returning to the idea of working for money and it being a dull life to live. The next song, 7, returns to the theme of childhood and youth, and Fever Ray is looking back at all these little things with some sense of nostalgia, it seems, and the return of a really colorful beat and her regular but esoteric singing voice show that this is again one of the tracks about life and humanity opposed to her darker songs. Up next is Triangle Walks, just another incredible piece. Beyond your typical cryptic and enchanting lyrics, you have an instrumental section that just is a kaleidoscope of different sounds, just popping and creating all sorts of these vibrations throughout the track. It really is incredible to listen to. Concrete Walls is thematically and musically most similar to If I Had a Heart, a very dark track. Again, the enhanced vocals most similar to If I Had a Heart are in use here. And the few lyrics on this song project a really dismal idea of losing the human touch, whether it be warmth leaving a person's body or TVs and radios, which give the idea of a human presence being there but actually lacking the warmth and touch that a person has. Next, the album sort of builds into its climax with Now Is the Only Time I Know, which is a good track, but it only does seem to serve as a small lead-up into I'm Not Done. I'm Not Done is unquestionably the grandest point of the record, similar to how Runaway was on Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and I bring that up because I think this song, which was put out a year before that record was, is actually a major player in the influence Kanye took to make that. Tempo-wise and beat-wise, both songs sound the same, with what sounds like a piano note being struck in the same exact manner, and then you have the vocals which slowly build and build until towards the end you reach the highest point of the song, which is a really grand, jaw-dropping instrumental section to close the track. And Fever Ray does put their best production off of this album into this single track with really layered and dense progressive instrumentation, similar to the really epic sounding auto-tuned vocals you had on the end of Runaway. You have some really great electronic grooves towards the end of I'm Not Done, and it just creates an epic feel that really puts a fine printed dot on this record as a whole. Most people are familiar with Runaway, and I think that that is the best visualizer I can give for describing I'm Not Done. And I'd be surprised, very surprised, if Kanye West did not hear this song before he made Runaway. The next track, Keep the Streets Empty for Me, is the calm after the storm that is I'm Not Done. Just a very quiet and gentle piece that really does give off the feeling of you being the only soul on a street at night that only has the streetlights illuminating it in an otherwise dark, chilled night stroll. And sections of the record like this make you appreciate the musical genius that Karen Anderson possesses even more. Her ability to put things that flow so well together and understand the structure of an album is impeccable, along with all her other artistic talents. The closer, Coconut, really is a perfect blend of all the elements that Karen shows over the course of the record. You have the dark vibes from her vocals and the effect she places on them. However, the production is pretty airy. It's sort of like When I Grow Up. There's birds flying overhead, it sounds like, thanks to some of these electronic noises. And the production she puts here really seems to respond to how aggressively she delivers her vocals. It's easy to imagine her just walking through a forest, and the louder she sings, just the bushes and trees and plants around her just really pulse along with her vocals. There really are so many things that go into making this such a great album, whether it's the cryptic lyrics you can continue to return to and get all sorts of meanings and impressions out of, the production and how Karen herself interacts with it with her vocals, how she uses the sounds to portray an idea, plus how well these songs flow together and the structure of the album and how it creates a singular experience instead of a bunch of tracks put together. Throw in the fact that she's taking electronic music and making it come to life so easily, and you have one of my favorite albums ever made. Compared to my other videos, some of my descriptions are pretty brief and pretty vague, but I'd say for the most part, this album is actually pretty indescribable and just tough to put into words. Particularly the lyrics, which are cryptic as ever, and I'll let you draw your own interpretations of them if you do listen to this. And a big part of this album, too, is the physical experience. If you lay down, close your eyes, and put on When I Grow Up, you'll be able to feel every little electronic bump, beep, and bloop in your bones and joints, too. With this album being such a physical experience that it is, so cerebral, so well produced, creative, pretty catchy, too. In my opinion, it's a 9.9 out of 10. Like I said, one of my favorite albums ever. Still got Ben Biondi's sunglasses from Halloween. Check this thing out if you like electro pop, The Knife, Swedish music, Swedish people, me. Pretty much I'd recommend it to everyone. I love this album. If you listen to it, let me know what you think. Get in contact with me, let me know. Alright, that's all we got for now. Until next time.